was nice. So we'll go ahead and open the Metropolitan Planning Commission September 12th, 2024 meeting, call it to order. Everybody has their agenda, and so we are on to the adoption of the agenda. Commissioners, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Next, we are on to item C, which is the approval of the August 22nd, 2024 minutes. And Commissioners, you've received those minutes. Is there a motion, any discussion, or is there a motion to approve? So there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the minutes are adopted. Next is the recognition of the council members. I see a lot of former council members, but only one current council member, Councilmember Huffman. Why don't you come on up? Welcome, and thank you for coming down.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody, for everything that you do. As always, I'm here today on item number 12 on your agenda. This should be a fairly straightforward explanation of rezoning from CS to SP to support a self-storage unit facility. This goes along with a lot of the needs of our community. A lot of folks moving in, they are buying places where they may not be able to store all their stuff, so it fits right in with the needs of our community. This has my full support. Mr. Dale has been fully communicative through this entire process, so just ask for your support on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate you coming down, and it's good to see you. Any other council members? We always try to take them up. I don't see any other council members, so we are on to item E, which is items for deferral or withdrawal. Well, go ahead. Good.
Thank you. Starting on page 3, item number 1, 2016 SP 019007, Silo Bend SP amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer to the September 26th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 2, 2024 SP 015001, Talbot's Corner. Staff recommendation is to defer to the September 26th Planning Commission meeting. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 3, 2024 SP 016001, 751 South 5th Street. Staff recommendation is to defer to the September 26th meeting. Item number 4, 2024 SP 030001, 1202 McGavick Pike and 1201 Keller Ave. Staff recommendation is to defer to the September 26th meeting. Item number 5, 2024 S 025001, Madison Station. Staff recommendation is to defer indefinitely. Item number 7, 2024 S 084001, final plat of the Steinbach property. Staff recommendation is to defer to the September 26th meeting. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 8, 2024 Z 069 PR 001. Staff recommendation is to defer to the September 26th meeting. Item number 10, 2024 SP 020001, Cane Ridge SP. Staff recommendation is to defer to the September 26th meeting. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 13, 2024 SP 036001, 832 West Trinity. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 24th Planning Commission meeting. Item 16, 2024 S 102001, reserved parcel 58 on the plan of Hidden Hill subdivision. Staff recommendation is to defer to the September 26th meeting. And and that's all.
Thank you, Andy. And so, Commissioners, and Andy, make sure I get these correct. So these are the items for deferral or withdrawal. Item number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 13, and 16. Is that correct?
And also item number 10.
And 10. I'm sorry, Commissioners. So let's read it one more time. That way we'll get it on record. Items for deferral withdrawal are items number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 13, and 16. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard the items for deferral withdrawal. Is there a motion? Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Those items are deferred or withdrawn. So that takes us to item F. And Andy, I assume you're going to lead us through the consent agenda.
Yes, thank you. So I will read through the items on the tentative consent agenda and ask if anyone is here in opposition. If so, please raise your hand, and if there is someone in opposition, the items will be presented. If no one is in opposition to the item, it will be on the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. Okay, so I'm going to run through those items and ask people to raise their hand. So on page 4 of the agenda, item number 6, 2024 S-083-001, Harpeth Overlook. Staff recommendation is to approve with condition. Is anyone here in opposition? If no, this item will be on the consent agenda. Okay, on page 5, item number 11, 2024 SP-033-001, HCA East Nashville. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Is anyone here in opposition? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item 12, 2024 SP-035-001, 3525 Central Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Is anyone here in opposition? This item will be on the consent agenda. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 14, 2018 S-188005, Parks at Cane Ridge, Phase 1D. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Is anyone here in opposition? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item 15, 2023 S-112002, Oakwood Preserve. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Is anyone here in opposition? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item 17, 2024 Z-095-PR-001. Staff recommendation is to approve. Is anyone here in opposition? This item will be on the consent agenda. On page 7, item number 18, 2024 Z-096-PR-001. Staff recommendation is to approve. Is anyone here in opposition? This item will be on the consent agenda. And item 19, 2024 Z-097-PR-001. Staff recommendation is to approve. Is anyone here in opposition? Okay, this item will be heard. Okay. So now I will read through the consent agenda with the full caption. And as information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. Okay. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 6, 2024 S-083-001, Harpeth Overlook, a request for concept plan approval to create 32 lots on properties located at McCrory Lane, approximately 700 feet north of Beautiful Valley Drive, zoned AR2A and RS10. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. On page 5, item 11, 2024 SP 033001, HCA East Nashville. A request to rezone from IWD to SP zoning for property located at 800 Dickerson Pike, approximately 325 feet north of Grace Street, to permit hospital use. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 12, 2024 SP 035001, 3525 Central Pike. A request to rezone from CS to SP zoning for property located at 3525 Central Pike, approximately 325 feet west of Stoner's Bend Drive, to permit a self-service storage facility. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. On page 6, item 14, 2018 S 188005, Parks at Cane Ridge, Phase 1D, a request for final plat approval to create 52 residential cluster lots on a portion of properties located at Cane Ridge Road, unnumbered, at the current terminus of Legacy Drive, zoned RS10. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item 15, 2023 S 112002, Oakwood Preserve. A request for concept plan approval to create 18 lots on a portion of property located at Bethwood Drive, unnumbered, approximately 1,094 feet east of Oakwood Avenue, zoned RS 7.5. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item 17, 2024 Z 095PR 001, a request to rezone from OR 20 to MULA zoning for properties located at 117 Neely's Bend Road, 400 feet east of Gallatin Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve. Page 7, item number 18, 2024 Z 096PR 001, a request to rezone from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 305 Joyner Avenue, approximately 450 feet east of Nolensville Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve. And item number 19, 2024, oh, no, that one's not going to be on consent, sorry. Under other business, item 20, bonus height certification memo for Paseo Tower 2. And item 24, acceptance of the director's report and approve administrative items.
Thank you, Andy. Good job. And so, commissioners, these are the items on the consent agenda that will be adopted all at one time. And those are, make sure I get these correct, Andy, items number 6, 11, 12, 14, 15, 17, 18, 20, and 24. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, commissioners, you've heard the items for approval on the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the consent agenda is adopted, which means, commissioners, that we will be hearing 2 items tonight for public hearing, and that's items number 9 and 19. And I did forget to mention at the beginning of the meeting when we started that we detected a quorum. I want to make sure I get that on the record when we started the meeting. Appreciate everybody coming down. Before we get started, just a friendly reminder to silent your phone, and we will get started on to item number 9. We'll do the presentation. Selena, you're up.
All right. Selena Koenigstein presenting item number 9 on your agenda. The request is to rezone from R40 to RS20. Staff's recommendation is to approve. As a reminder, this case was previously considered by the Planning Commission on August 8th, and I'll give a brief recap of the request in the next few slides and then go into a little bit more about the history. The 7.93 acre parcel is located along the southern side of Old Hickory Boulevard in the Green Hills area. The property presently has a single-family home. Adjacent zoning to the east and west is R40, and surrounding land uses are single-family residential and vacant lands. There are two policies on the site: suburban neighborhood maintenance, which is intended to maintain the general character of developed suburban residential neighborhoods, and the conservation policy, which is intended to preserve environmentally sensitive land features through protection and remediation. On this site, conservation likely addresses the stream and surrounding area along the southern property line. So a little bit of history. This case was previously presented at the August 8th Planning Commission meeting, where a public hearing was held and closed. During the public hearing, there were concerns raised about access, architectural guidelines, and the number of units. The commission expressed a desire for the applicant to consider specific plan or SP zoning at this site to provide more details regarding concerns raised during the public hearing. Additionally, the Planning Commission wondered if other properties could be included through an SP to provide cross-connectivity to the broader area. Since the August 8th meeting, there's been community engagement facilitated by the council member with the applicant and neighbors. The applicant has elected to move forward with a straight rezone on the property, which is originally as filed and is being presented today. As mentioned previously, the subject site is within a T3NM policy area, which is focusing on maintaining the general character of developed suburban neighborhoods. The residential PUD to the west has lots ranging in size, with most of the lots being under 20,000 square feet, which is below the lot size of the underlying zoning district R40. The proposed RS20 could continue the development pattern of smaller lot sizes in the area and still support the policy guidance to maintain the general character of the existing suburban neighborhoods. Staff will also note, in regard to the consideration of an SP, that the inclusion of additional properties in the request may result in a development that provides alternative opportunities for connectivity, but due to the existing street network surrounding parcel configuration and floodway areas to the east, establishing a meaningful network in this area would be limited and may result in additional disturbance to environmentally sensitive features. Due to the rezoning aligning with the T3NM policy area and allowing for the continuation of the surrounding development pattern of smaller lots with single-family uses, staff recommends approval.
Thank you very much. And as the staff has pointed out, we've already had a public hearing on this particular item. And so we are just now in discussion. And so how about we start with Commissioner Clifton? Do you want to go first or no? Commissioner Henley? Always ask.
So I do remember this coming before us initially, and I have read some of the emails, and one of the comments spoke to the I guess the interpretation that this was going to come before us on the 26th instead of at this meeting. Is that something that the staff is?
I believe that the council member misspoke on that. Okay. It was the 12th. It was 2 meetings from the last time it was heard. So.
Okay. No, I saw that in the comments. I was just wanting clarification on that. I mean, I think I spoke on this when we had it presented to us previously. It conforms to policy. I think there was some requests for consideration that were extended to the applicant. But I think even during our conversation, we internally discussed how that could be difficult considering the scale of the properties and the context that the neighborhood has. So I'm inclined, again, staff has had an opportunity to engage the applicant. Again, we still have an approval in front of us, and I think it aligns with the policy.
Thank you. And so now we'll just open it up for more, any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? And generally, if there's not a discussion, we'll need a motion. Is there, Commissioner Henley, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve staff recommendation to approve.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? There's a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of staff recommendation, say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and item number 9 is approved. We are now on to item number 19. I think. Ozzy, are you ready? Thank you, sir. We'll get it pulled up.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. I'm Laszlo Martone. I'll be presenting item number 19. The request for item number 19 is to rezone from SP to RM20 ANS. Staff's recommendation is to approve. The application consists of 2 parcels that are approximately 9 acres total, and they're located along the north side of Elm Hill Pike. The properties have been zoned specific plan since 2007, and the specific plan was regulatory and permits all uses of office residential intensive zoning with the exception of multifamily uses, multifamily residential uses. The adjacent parcel to the west is also within the bounds of the SP, but is not included in the rezoning. A final site plan, I'll note that the final site plan has never been submitted for this site. So just the preliminary exists, but there are currently 2 single-family residents on the properties. So the properties are located within the district employment center policy areas, and they also, there are some conservation policy on the site as well. The district employment center policy intends to enhance and create concentrations of employment that are often in a campus-like setting. The policy supports a mixture of office and commercial uses as the primary uses, while retail, restaurant services, and medium to high density residential are also appropriate as secondary uses. The conservation policy on the site is associated with steep slopes along the site's frontage, as you can see in the green areas. So I wanted to show the larger district employment center policy and sort of the bounds of it. You'll see Briley Parkway to the west, you got I-40 to the south. The 2 properties are along Elm Hill Pike, and then Donaldson Pike is kind of the boundary, and you've got some suburban community center policy along that corridor. And on this next slide, provide an aerial image of the site and the surrounding area. You'll see that the area is primarily developed with small office buildings, hotel uses, and other commercial uses along Elm Hill Pike. Behind the site are primarily single-family uses. I'll note that the site has its primary frontage along Elm Hill Pike, which is an arterial boulevard identified in the Major and Collector Street Plan. The site is also within a 5-minute walk to a bus stop served by WeGo Route 18. And I've kind of highlighted some of the bus stops so you could see. So moving on to our analysis. Staff recognize that there's a balance that must be struck in employment centers between employment uses and supporting residential uses. It's critical to ensure that the balance is not tipping too heavily towards residential uses, as they're, in these areas, typically, we want them to be secondary supportive uses. Given the area's larger employment center is primarily built out with a healthy mix of office and commercial uses, multifamily residential uses at these properties could serve as a complementary use that we find to be supportive of the primary function of the policy. A property's location is within a center, is along an arterial boulevard, and it's within a 5-minute walk to a bus stop. That furthers goals of Nashville Next to provide a mixture of housing choices near corridors and centers. I'll note that the A designation in the request will provide additional building standards that'll be reviewed with the time of building permit, and the NS designation will ensure that development will provide long-term housing solutions and will prohibit short-term rental properties. Given our analysis, staff finds that the proposed RM20 ANS district aligns with the goals of the District Employment Center policy and as well as Nashville Next goals, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Laszlo. Appreciate it. So commissioners, will open the public hearing for this particular item. Is the applicant in the room? The applicant? Are y'all the applicant? Come on up. Are you the applicant, ma'am? Yeah, well, come on up. Well, thank you for coming today. There's someone else that made the traffic bad. It wasn't the planning commission, I hope.
Okay, what was the question?
Never, it was a joke. I was saying the planning commission, we're probably the reason why traffic is so bad.
Yeah.
I blame it on Stewart, but that's
Okay.
okay. Now, welcome. Would you like to sit down, ma'am?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, and if you can just state so you have 10 minutes, and you can save 2 of the 10 minutes for rebuttal, and if you'll just state your name and address, and then tell us why you want the rezoning.
My name is Roberta Pauline Hicks Maupin, and the address is 2522 Elm Hill, and we are wanting to get this property 02 and 03 to multi-family. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. And is there a reason for that?
Well, the reason is mainly because of so many taxes right now. It's eating me up. And then it's just time to move on. We're the only residential property on the street. From McGavock way on through. And so it's time to move on.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you coming down, and that's all we needed from you. And then you have 2 minutes for rebuttal. Is there anything else?
I don't know anything.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it.
Am I through?
You're through. We'll call you back up if we need to.
Okay.
All right, thank you for coming down. We'll save 2 minutes for rebuttal for her, and then anyone wishing to speak in support. We'll wait till, anyone wishing to, we'll make sure we get everybody. Anybody wishing to speak in support? Seeing none. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? So y'all come on up if you'll form a line behind the microphone, and everybody gets 2 minutes. Lisa, can you twist the timer so I can see it a little bit? And then the timer is, there we go, that's perfect, so we can all see it. Timer, everybody gets 2 minutes, and state your name and address, and we appreciate you coming down.
Okay, great. Thanks for sending the notice and allowing me to speak. My name is Jim Bosey. My wife, Lucy, and I live at 2547 Lakeland. We're the property directly behind one of the lots. And I've known they wanted it to sell forever, and I encouraged them to sell. I know it's time to move on. At the same time, we're very concerned about moving to an RM20 designation. For 9 acres, that could be over 500 people in this small space. And Paul's going to talk about the infrastructure to support it or not. And just very concerned. I mean, I'm retired. I think this is one of the best areas in Nashville. At the same time, you have to be able to not survive, but you need to be able to move and not be caught by the traffic that's caught in other areas. And we'll speak to that in a minute. Paul?
Hi, y'all.
Hold on, Paul, we'll start you over. Here we go. State your name and address.
Yes, my name is Paul Sherrick. I live at 307 Emery Drive. It's really close to there, like I could almost throw a rock and hit the property, okay? Really close. I'm here today to oppose this because, number one, well, there's traffic. You know, I called my councilman and asked him after I got my flyer in the mail, and I asked him if there had been a traffic study. Has there been an environmental assessment, and environmental impact study, NEPA? Has anybody, what is going on with this property? And why would they want to zone it for RM20? That's very dense. And so I looked up the property. I think it's zoned for 4.6 dwellings per acre, which is pretty dense in itself. Elm Hill Pike is a 2-lane road down there at the bottom of the hill, and it's a steep hill on that property. That topography is going to be such that they're going to have to build a lot of retaining walls and consider a lot of, water, stormwater is going to be an issue, and traffic is going to be an issue because of the topography of the property. I believe that Elm Hill Pike will have to be widened in that area for that to accommodate that kind of density. It does not have a center lane in front of that area right there. It does on down, but they would have to make a shoulder pull off, a traffic signal, and get a center lane for turning left on the outbound of Elm Hill. I mean, I can see a lot of problems with putting that at RM20 at this point. And then when we get on the other side and we talk about the environmental impact, is that I've been there for 17 years, I've owned there a long time. And the same birds come back annually that are hawks that come in and they build a nest every year. And we see them, all the time. There's a lot of things that.
Thank you, sir.
That I feel that make me stand in opposition of this rezoning. Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, next, welcome.
Well, thank you. My name is John Ray. I live at 2545 Lakeland Drive, which is directly behind the Maupin's house on the biggest lot. That's my home right behind it. I know that they've been great neighbors, and I would love to see them sell their property and move on and to whatever their next adventure is. And I don't have a problem with developing the property. The problem I have is that a RM20 zoning for that piece of property and the one next to it is so much more denser than anything for 3/8 of a mile around it. And so all those items that he brought up about the infrastructure, right now, that property is fed its utility off of right up my yard. There's a power right away up the corner of my yard to the back of their property, and then their houses and water come from Lakeland Drive. So if the property was developed, I would like to see the utility put on Elm Hill Pike, and not because if you zone it for RM20, the size of the utility needed to operate that size of facility is going to be humongous, power-wise and water-wise and sewer-wise. So it's going to be a major ordeal. We went through this zoning thing a few years back, and it went from residential to SP. And I thought at the time, I did all the studies on all the different zonings, and that SP fit the property really well for developing it and keeping the neighborhood intact and not turning it into a free-for-all with 360 more people on an area that takes up 2 lots behind it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Welcome.
Not a public speaker, but I live at 2545 Lakeland Drive. I'm very familiar with the trouble we already have with the 2 local apartments we have, and Metro Police not being able to keep up with those concerns. We have a new mated pair of bald eagles that will be affected. Like he said, we have a mated pair of hawks. And my personal opinion, that's just too many in one little bitty spot. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, 2-minute rebuttal if you would like, or no? But you have to come up again, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Well, I think it's prime property for developing. There is an apartment development across the street, and the water and utilities will come off Elm Hill. They are on this Lakeland court right now that comes into the back of the property. And I see no reason why we can't. There is not a watershed there that will affect any of the neighbors. And I just see no reason not to develop, not to rezone it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Appreciate you coming down.
Yeah.
Next is the council member. I do not see the council member, so seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Commissioner Marshall, you want to go first?
Thank you. First of all, I tend to agree with the staff recommendation that it meets all of the necessary requirements that they would look at from a policy standpoint. I am a little concerned, though, with some of the comments that I've heard and don't see, or should I ask, did we receive anything from the council member from his position? Did he take any type of position on it?
We have not.
Have not. Okay. So there's no record of public meetings or anything of that nature that would have discussed with the community their feelings about it?
Our process for rezoning does not require a public meeting, so I don't know if any have or have not been had. Council members handle rezonings differently throughout the county. Some want to have conversations before planning commission. Some want to have conversations after the planning commission. We have not heard from the council member on this item.
Yeah. Well, my position would be that I would tend to lean toward, accepting it as it's been recommended, but I would certainly love to hear the opinions of the other council people, commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? Commissioner Clifton.
I just need a refresher. I know the staff probably mentioned it, but what are the other zonings in that general area? Show that to us again. And are any of them this zoning?
Okay, so this is a zoning slide. You'll see the two subject properties that are kind of in a lighter gray shaded. The property is bordered by ORI, CS. The previously mentioned multifamily development is the kind of teardrop shaped property that's zoned OR 20. It's on the south side of Elm Hill Pike. And then,
Bosley, forgive me for interrupting. Would you mind just expressing in a sentence or two what each of those zoning districts are, like a mix of office or et cetera, non-residential or residential?
So ORI is one of the most intense office residential districts in the code. A lot of this area is currently developed, like built out as hotels. There's a lot of hotels in this vicinity along Elm Hill Pike. And the airport is just south of this these two properties. So Lots of hotels. There's a good, healthy mix of office uses. A lot of the properties that are zoned ORI, OL, MUL have office uses. And there's a sprinkling of commercial uses. I did provide OR20? Yeah. So OR20 would allow office uses as well as residential at 20 units an acre density. Yeah, same thing as RM20. So I'm just going to go to, I also provide a land use slide at the back here just to kind of see a mix. That it's got a mix of commercial, office. A lot of the residential in this vicinity is north of Elm Hill Pike, which you'll see in the yellow, and on the properties that we've been discussing. Hopefully that kind of sheds some light on the context of the area.
Sir, so I apologize, but we've already had the public hearing, and so the commissioners are delegated to speak now, so I apologize. Thank you for coming. You're welcome. Commissioner Clifton, you're recognized.
Well, obviously, we run into this a lot. It's never a happy thing to hear when you open the paper and see that, or open something that says, this is going to be a lot denser than you ever thought. I get that. I live in an area of town that takes any rezoning very seriously, and we don't ever have any because of that. So I understand that there's a lot of fear about what's going to happen with this level of change, but Elm Hill Pike is Elm Hill Pike, and it's just, if there's ever going to be an intensification in that area, this looks like it. So I know it's not a happy thing for people to see that change, but for our planning needs and the general location here of Elm Hill Pike is just not, it's not conducive to leaving it the way it is or anything close to the way it is if we're going to change it. So I support the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just a reminder on our process here at the Planning Commission meeting, which we handle a lot of rezonings. We have internal rules that we go by, which allows time for the public to speak and time for the commissioners to deliberate. If you don't agree with what we decide tonight as a commission, you can always sue Metro. And so I'm just telling you that we have internal process, internal rules that we have to provide, and those processes have been voted on. There's also the council member. You can talk to the council member because that's where the final decision will be made. So I just want to remind everybody that we appreciate you coming down, but we have internal rules, and sir, you can't speak right now, so I apologize. All right, any other discussion? Commissioner Dundon.
I just have a couple questions for clarification. The utilities, is that something that is in the plan that's even before you in terms of, do you know whether they are coming from Elm Hill or?
So right now we're just reviewing the rezoning request, and we don't actually have building plans or building permit that's been,
Those
submitted.
are details that are.
Yeah, so just reviewing it against the policy right now, and they'll review those at the time of building permit. They don't have a set unit count or anything like that right now.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, and I'm inclined to also support staff's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners? Any other discussion? Commissioner Henley.
Yeah, I think my comments somewhat, I guess, align with the question. I think having the context that, the SP originally was governed by OR intensive, which is a pretty significant amount of intensity, which would have some pretty significant utility demands. I think the the modification here gives, one, I think some governance to not having short-term rentals. I know the previous SP had excluded multifamily residential, but that SP was in 2007. And so we've changed as a city, and we've had Nashville Next, our general plan has been updated, and we've identified our corridors as areas to direct the type of growth that we want to see in the city. And so I think, with those things in mind, and knowing that the original SP had quite a bit of opportunity for significant intensity, I'm very comfortable with the move. I think the presentation kind of steered us to that point of saying, hey, there was some intensity in this corridor itself is one that's meant to support that. So I'm inclined to support staff's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Henley, you want to make a motion, or you don't have to? I always. Oh, you.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. I'd make the motion to accept the staff recommendation.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Item number 19 is adopted. All right, so we are on to other business, and that is historic. Commissioner Smith, any updates?
No real update, Chair.
Okay. Thank you for serving. I appreciate it very much. Commissioner Henley, Parks.
Yes, I'd like to report and make our commission aware. At Parks, we do have the initiation of a renaming for Cumberland Park, which is on the East Bank. We've had a lot of presentations about the East Bank in a quite active area here in our city. And so at the Parks Board, at our last Parks Board, the renaming process, I guess I would say, was initiated. There's a strong contingent to have that renamed Wasioto Park to honor the indigenous history of our city. So that's happening. I'd also encourage people to take note that this Saturday at McCabe Park, there is the Picnic for Parks, which benefits our Parks Foundation and specifically McCabe Park. So just to put that on the calendar. And I believe we will have another planning commission prior to this event later in September. But Fort Negley has also scheduled its annual Path to Freedom lecture, which is free to the public. And it just is, I think since 2020 or 2021, acknowledging the importance of the Underground Railroad. And so I think that's just also something to highlight. I've had a great experience with Fort Negley. It's in my neighborhood. So as a matter of privilege, we'd like to highlight that event.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate your service to the Parks Board as well. Executive Committee. So I do know potentially the director and I have talked about some workshops coming up on some more on some bigger issues, and we like to do a deep dive in those, and they're all open to the public. And so I always appreciate the commissioners coming if you can, if your work schedule allows for y'all to do that. And I know that sometimes we all have conflicts, even myself. So appreciate, but we'll have an announcement soon, probably coming up, and so just be on the lookout for that. That's all I have for the Executive Committee. Director.
Well, thank you for your service. We do have a couple of time-sensitive projects that are a little more complex, where we might recommend a work session beforehand. Given that the holidays are coming up, I may send out some notes asking for your availability in the December, January timeframe, when we only have one commission meeting, but where we have some issues that do need your attention. And so I'll be in touch on that, but we are always really grateful for your time and your service.
Thank you, Director. And Councilor Gamble's not here, so no legislative update. And so that concludes our meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.